When Samantha Jackson was defended from humiliation in the supermarket queue, she had no idea that her rescuer's help was a twist of fate driven by a piece of clothing she was wearing. Samantha stood hesitating in the bargain aisle, unable to decide what to buy on that chilly New York evening. Should she pick up a can of tuna? After all, such a gift would delight her beloved cat Lola. Samantha had rescued Lola from the streets when she was surrounded by a pack of fierce dogs. Since then, Lola had become an integral part of the family, offering companionship during Samantha's most challenging moments. Despite her financial difficulties, Samantha always took good care of her feline friend. She had come to the supermarket solely to buy something for Lola's dinner, ignoring her own needs. The supermarket bustled with activity, its fluorescent lights casting a sterile glow over the neatly organized shelves. Samantha Jackson stood in the checkout line, her mind preoccupied with the choices before her. It was a frigid evening in the heart of New York City, and the biting wind outside had driven her indoors to stock up on essentials. As she surveyed the items on the shelves, Samantha couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. Her tight budget didn't leave much room for indulgences, but tonight was different. She had someone special to think of, her beloved cat, Lola. Samantha had rescued Lola from the perilous streets of New York when the poor feline was surrounded by a ferocious pack of dogs. Since then, Lola had become her steadfast companion, providing solace in the loneliest of times. Samantha reached for a can of tuna, a treat that never failed to make Lola's whiskers twitch with delight. She knew it would bring a contented purr from her furry friend. But as she made her way to the checkout counter, uncertainty gnawed at her. Her wallet was almost empty, containing only a handful of coins. Samantha had carefully counted every cent to ensure she could afford the small luxury she was buying for Lola. As she placed the can of tuna on the conveyor belt, Samantha's heart raced. She muttered a silent prayer, hoping that the meager coins in her wallet would be enough. The queue behind her grew longer, and impatience began to simmer among the waiting customers. Just when Samantha was about to complete her count, an impatient shopper behind her accidentally bumped her elbow. The coins slipped from her grasp, cascading onto the supermarket floor like a shimmering silver waterfall. Samantha's face flushed with embarrassment as she bent down to gather the scattered change, her hands trembling. "Really? Do we have to wait another half hour for you to pick up your pennies? If you don't have money, don't come to the supermarket and waste our time," scolded the stern cashier, Brittany Parker. Her voice carried an air of authority, making Samantha feel even smaller. Samantha mumbled an apology, her cheeks burning with humiliation. She continued to pick up the coins while the impatient customers in line exchanged irritated glances. The situation grew more uncomfortable by the second. Amid the commotion, one person stood out. A tall, middle-aged man with kind eyes and a calm demeanor approached Samantha. He knelt beside her, helping her collect the scattered coins without a word of judgment. His name was David Smith, the manager of the supermarket, and he was in stark contrast to the irate cashier. Samantha was taken aback by his unexpected act of kindness. She looked up at him with gratitude in her eyes, silently wondering why a stranger would go out of his way to help her in this embarrassing moment. Unbeknownst to her, this chance encounter would mark the beginning of a remarkable journey, one that neither of them could have predicted. As Samantha gathered the last of the scattered coins from the supermarket floor, David Smith, the manager, handed her a few of the stray pennies he collected. His voice was gentle as he spoke. "Here you go, young lady. Don't worry about it. These things happen." Samantha's cheeks still flushed with embarrassment, but she managed a timid smile. "Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your help." David Smith nodded and gave her an understanding look. "No need to thank me. We all have our moments. Just take care of yourself." With that, he stood up and walked back to the front of the store, where the impatient customers were growing increasingly irate at the delay. Samantha watched him go, feeling a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. It wasn't every day that a stranger extended such kindness. As Samantha reached the cashier and began to count her meager coins for the can of tuna, Brittany Parker, the stern cashier, couldn't resist making another snide comment. "Well, it's about time. Maybe next time you'll come to the store with some money." Samantha ignored the cashier's barbs and completed her transaction. She hurriedly grabbed the can of tuna and exited the supermarket, her heart still racing from the embarrassing ordeal. Outside, the frigid wind stung her cheeks as she walked briskly toward her modest apartment. She had to get back to Lola, who would be eagerly awaiting her return. Samantha couldn't help but think about the strange encounter with David Smith. His kindness had touched her deeply, especially after the harsh words of the cashier. Over the next few weeks, Samantha's visits to the supermarket became more frequent. Each time she went, she couldn't help but glance toward the checkout area, hoping to catch another glimpse of David. He had a calming presence that made her feel at ease, and she couldn't deny that she enjoyed their brief interactions. One evening, as Samantha stood in line with a small basket of groceries, David approached her once again. This time, he held a large, reusable shopping bag filled with an assortment of items. "Hello again," he greeted her with a warm smile. Samantha returned the smile, feeling a sense of comfort in his presence. "Hello, Mr. Smith. It's good to see you." David glanced at her basket and then at the bag in his hand. "You know, I noticed you're a regular customer here and you always seem to have a tight budget. How about I give you a hand with your groceries today?" Samantha hesitated for a moment, touched by his offer but not wanting to impose. "Oh, that's very kind of you, but I couldn't possibly." David interrupted her gently. "Nonsense. Consider it a small token of appreciation for being a loyal customer. Plus, it's the least I can do after the incident with the coins." Samantha couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by his generosity. "Thank you, Mr. Smith. I truly appreciate your help." With that, David began to transfer the items from her basket into the large shopping bag. Samantha watched him, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and wondering what had prompted the stranger to extend such a kind offer. Little did she know that this encounter was the beginning of a profound connection that would change both of their lives in unexpected ways. As weeks turned into months, Samantha's relationship with David Smith deepened. She found herself not only appreciating his assistance at the supermarket, but also enjoying their conversations and the genuine kindness he extended to her. What had started as a chance encounter in the checkout line had evolved into a meaningful friendship. One chilly evening, after David had helped Samantha pack her groceries, he invited her for a cup of coffee at a nearby cafe. Samantha agreed, a curiosity about this man piqued. She wanted to know more about the person who had become a comforting presence in her life. They settled into a cozy corner of the cafe, steam rising from their cups of hot coffee. Samantha ventured to ask, "Mr. Smith, you've been so kind to me, and I can't thank you enough. But why do you do it? You barely know me." David smiled warmly, his eyes reflecting a mixture of emotions. "Samantha, you remind me of someone I once knew, someone I cared about deeply. I see a kindred spirit in you, and it feels right to offer help when I can." Samantha nodded, touched by his words. She couldn't help but wonder about the person who had left such an impression on him. "Can you tell me more about this person you knew?" she inquired gently. David hesitated for a moment, as if contemplating how much to reveal. Her name was Samantha Jackson. She was a remarkable woman, strong and compassionate. We shared some unforgettable moments together. Samantha's eyes widened at the mention of her mother's name. Samantha Jackson. That was my mother's name. David's expression shifted to one of astonishment. "Your mother? That's quite a coincidence. Samantha, did your mother ever mention someone named David Smith?" Samantha frowned, her mind racing. Her mother had seldom spoken about her past, but this revelation was intriguing. She rarely talked about her personal life, especially her relationships. "Why do you ask?" David took a deep breath, his eyes locked onto Samantha's. "Samantha, I have a strong feeling that your mother and I may have known each other a long time ago. In fact, I believe there might be a connection between us." Samantha's heart began to race. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "What kind of connection? Are you saying you knew my mother intimately?" David looked down at his coffee cup, his voice somber. "It's possible, Samantha, but I need to be sure. There's something I want to do to confirm it." Samantha leaned in, her curiosity overwhelming her. "What is it, Mr. Smith? Please tell me." David met her gaze once more. "I'd like to take a DNA test, Samantha. If the results confirm what I suspect, it could change both of our lives forever." Samantha's mind raced with a whirlwind of emotions. She hardly knew this man, yet the prospect of uncovering the truth about her past was too enticing to resist. She nodded slowly, her voice filled with uncertainty. "All right, Mr. Smith, I'll do the test. But what do you expect to find?" David sighed, a mixture of hope and trepidation in his eyes. "I believe there's a chance, Samantha, that I might be your father." The revelation hung in the air, creating an unspoken bond between them. Samantha and David would embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries of their pasts and discover the truth behind Samantha Jackson's untold story. With the decision to undergo a DNA test hanging heavily in the air, Samantha and David knew that their lives were on the brink of a profound transformation. The possibility that David might be Samantha's father was a revelation neither of them could ignore, and it sent shockwaves through their hearts. Days passed, filled with anticipation and anxiety. Samantha and David decided to visit a reputable DNA testing facility together. Inside the sterile, well-lit lab, they underwent the simple procedure, offering cheek swabs that held the key to unlocking their familial connection. As they left the facility, the tension between them was palpable. Samantha couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions: excitement, fear, and uncertainty. David, on the other hand, had a look of determination that hinted at a long-buried longing. Weeks seemed to drag on as they waited for the results. Samantha continued her job at the supermarket, but her mind was often elsewhere, wondering about the father she might never have known. David, too, wrestled with his emotions, reflecting on his past choices and what the future might hold. Then, one brisk autumn day, the long-awaited envelope arrived at Samantha's doorstep. She carefully tore it open, her hands trembling with nervous energy. The words on the paper blurred briefly as tears welled up in her eyes, but soon they came into focus, undeniable and life-altering. The DNA test confirmed what David had suspected. He was Samantha's biological father. The evidence was overwhelming, with a 99.9% match. Samantha was overcome with a rush of emotions: joy, disbelief, and a profound sense of belonging that she had never felt before. She immediately called David, her voice shaking with excitement and tears. "Mr. Smith, it's true. The test, it's positive. You're my father." David's heart swelled with a mixture of emotions too. Relief washed over him, knowing that he had finally found the daughter he had unknowingly longed for. "Samantha, I can't put into words how happy I am. I've waited a long time for this moment." Their bond, once forged through chance and kindness, had now been cemented by blood and shared DNA. Samantha and David decided to meet to celebrate their newfound connection. Over dinner at a cozy restaurant, they talked late into the night, sharing stories of their lives and catching up on the years they had missed together. As time passed, Samantha introduced David to her world, the vibrant neighborhood where she lived, her beloved cat Lola, and the friends who had supported her through thick and thin. In return, David shared stories of Amanda, the woman they had both loved, and the memories they had created together. But their journey had just begun. There were still unanswered questions about Amanda's choices and the reasons for keeping Samantha's parentage a secret. Together, they vowed to uncover the truth, to honor Amanda's memory, and to build a new chapter of their lives as father and daughter. With each passing day, Samantha and David grew closer, their bond strengthened by shared experiences and a newfound sense of family. The path ahead was uncertain, but they faced it together, determined to embrace the gift of their connection and the love that had brought them together. As they gazed at the stars one clear night, Samantha whispered to her father, "It's incredible how our paths crossed, isn't it?" David smiled, his heart full of gratitude. "Yes, Samantha, it's a reminder that sometimes fate has a way of bringing people together when they need it most." And in that moment, beneath the vast expanse of the night sky, Samantha and David found solace and hope in the beautiful story of their reunion. A story of family, love, and the unbreakable ties that bound them together. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and this other story that may be appearing on the screen will most likely move you as well. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.